Thank you for watching Ben Television. My name is Shegun Johnson. The program is You Decide, where we give you information, facts, and analysis. And I'm so glad you are watching. This morning, we have so many things lined up for you. And I have my colleagues and guests that will be discussing different issues all over the world. How about things going on in the United States, in the United Kingdom, and of course, all over Africa. So let's get started. I have in the studio Nat Yako, our in-house researcher. Nat, you are welcome to the program.
Good morning and thank you.
We also have Mazi Gosin Azu, our man expert on European analysis. Mazi, you are welcome to the program.
Good morning, Doc, and my able and gladly dressed Archbishop of East London.
Yes, I know you.
Happy New Year and a wonderful year of overcomers.
Yes.
Good morning, viewers. I look forward to seeing everyone throughout the year 2021. God bless.
Yeah. So you are trying to say Happy New Year in summary. Okay, we have two guests here with us at the moment, and one of them is the chairman of NIDO, Dr. Bashir Obashikola. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you, viewers.
And you are speaking to us from Moscow, is that correct?
Moscow, yes.
Yeah, I'm coming back to you in a second, but we also have one important guest, the one I've met before and who is a miracle worker. Is no other person but Dr. Anthony Ower. Dr. Ower, you are welcome to the program.
Good morning, everybody, and a happy, prosperous New Year to all.
Yeah, we'll be coming to you because I think the world needs you right now as a specialist in EN and T. I don't know what that means, but you will tell us. EN and T. I'm so excited this morning. So welcome you all and welcome those who have been. If you want to email us at any given time, please do so. It is nigeriansdecide@yahoo.com. Send your questions. Tell us what you feel, and we will flow with you. We will read your position, even if you are against our position. And so please feel free to send us your emails and questions. How about this understanding that in the United Kingdom, in the whole of the four nations, we cannot move around. We are locked down. Some say till mid-February, some say till mid-March. We just don't know when we will be released. The students are no longer going to school, but they hope they will be given online education, whether that's effective or not. But those who are doing GCSE will no longer have to take the exams. I wish I were in that class. I don't know. A levels will not take the exam. You only have to be good to your teachers and you are in your university. These are the things that we experience in the lockdown. The latest statistics is that 1 in 30 is affected, or shall I say, infected by the coronavirus, maybe by the new British strain, as they say. But we'll be listening to the experts. Nat, please bring us up to date what is happening in the United Kingdom on the lockdown.
Well, the third lockdown in the United Kingdom comes into effect today, the 6th of January 2021. And it looks everybody is now get to tier 5. We used to be in tier 4, but it looks everybody is getting to tier 5 now.
Let me quickly ask you, where does the tier finish? Do we have tier 6, tier 7 up to tier 10, or it's just as they make it or as we go along?
Well, we depend on the advice of the medical experts and the scientists, and then the politicians will announce it.
Okay.
So we are in a situation now where we are being told that the coronavirus infection has gone back to March status, March 2020. We had a similar lockdown, but this time around, it looks we are dealing with not only COVID-19, there are other variants that have come in as viruses. But with the latest development in vaccines being rolled out, hopefully, because nobody is sure if these vaccines will be able to stop the ravaging of the UK citizens by this coronavirus.
Okay, let me ask you some vital questions affecting the behavioral pattern of the people. We're going to have Dr. Owa telling us the scientific part of it, but for the behavioral pattern, do you think the people are accepting the lockdown? That is, are they sitting down in their homes, or they are just doing their own thing and the government can continue giving its own regulation? What's the position?
There is a window. If you are going out for essential things like buying drugs or food, you are allowed to go out, but you will now find everybody going to buy food or going to buy medicine or going to park for exercise. So that is but the real thing that the people are not happy with this lockdown that will never come to an end, because after March or after February, don't be surprised that another thing will come up that will be required for lockdown, total lockdown this time around. You can't even go to buy food or buy medicine.
Oh, okay. Let me ask you. You reside in London. Let me ask someone who lives outside London, and I'm talking to Mazi Godsin. Godsin, I know you don't live in London. How are the people reacting to it? Are they being faithful to government's regulations in your part of the country? What's the name of your town again?
Good morning, Doc. You can't forget this town. They can't. As a bishop, you should know the name of my town. I mean,
Peterborough. You tell us.
No, the city of the saints. This is the city of the saints.
Okay, but I want you to mention it.
Well, I live here in the city of Peterborough, one of the greatest cities outside London. A few miles away, about 90 miles away from London. Beautiful city, one of the city where you have one of the oldest cathedrals in the United Kingdom, aging over 902 years now, still standing. Here in Peterborough, it's quite unfortunate. We are also lining up towards the tier fifth tier. I don't know how long they will keep tearing until we don't have anything to tear anymore. But it's quite unfortunate.
Are people obeying the government regulation?
It's rather unfortunate that based on cultural diversity or cultural challenges or differences, a lot of people are not really obeying the rules and regulations guiding the COVID protocols, not only in Peterborough, but also in many other cities across the United Kingdom, such as like in Leicester, in Bedford, Birmingham, and the rest of them, because of the fact that there are so many people. I'm sorry to use the word, from the Asian communities who most essentially live in clusters, and as such, and they work in clusters also, and in many occasions, or many cases, are not really taking into consideration the COVID protocols or the rules that are supposed to be followed to keep themselves safe. You go to many corner shops, as much as they own 95% of all the corner shops in most cities. And when you go to such places, you see the way they behave, the way they rant around, and without even any atoms of idea of what is going on. And some of them, you go to most places where they live. Some of them live with their parents, they live with their grandparents, they live with their grandchildren, they live with their great grandchildren. They have uncles, they have nephews living with them. It's so unbearable for the community when you have such cultural challenges.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Godson. Thank you for that understanding. Let's fly straight to Moscow. Dr. Obashikola, I know we will still talk about NATO, but may we just know what's going on in Moscow and Russia concerning the COVID-19? Are there new rules? Are there lockdowns? And how far are the people taking it?
Well, currently there are no lockdowns, but what we have is regulations, of course, just the normal social distancing, mask and sanitizers and hand gloves where possible. So while going to any mall or shops or market or any social places, you need to observe those regulations.
Is there any ban of UK flights into Russia?
Yes,
That we know.
I think, there is a stop now because of the mutation that is being reported of COVID-19. Everybody is trying to study what exactly the mutation is and how the current vaccination that is going to, be effective in that, new mutation. So that is the concern now. But so it's temporarily stopped.
We're coming back to you very soon. Let's talk to the man who is at the center of it all, Dr. Anthony Owa. We're so glad you are here, and you did a video even concerning this. First of all, tell us an overview before we go to your video. Why did you make this video?
I made the video because there seemed to be a lack of awareness, one of COVID itself or the effects of COVID, and also some concern about people who virtually do not know what to do in the presence of a virus, which is new, or indeed in the presence of a pandemic. There are some deniers, there's some various stories, some myths going around, lots of things about the internet. And what I sought to do is try and see through what makes sense and what doesn't make sense and try and put it down in layman's terms or what people ought to do or know about the virus and how they can look after themselves during the pandemic. The latest set of videos I referred to was due to an observation I made when I noticed that a lot of the testers were not necessarily putting the swabs where it was meant to be, because ideally when you are trying to take a sample from the for the virus, you're meant to take in the pharynx, which is basically the back of the nose and the throat. And most of the time, including a TV celebrity who has a worldwide audience reach, was taking sample from the external part, basically from the nostrils, which is very, very superficial. And also there have been reports of people taking the swabs, the testers taking the swabs, and going into dangerous areas such as the brain, just because of the way they orientate themselves. And I thought, at least if people have the information, they'll probably know how to proceed with the various tests they do. And also, if they do have COVID in the environment, they know what to expect, how to protect themselves. And if they do run the misfortune of catching the infection, know not to panic in the first instance and do some of the elementary things, because 90% of people that catch the infection may not necessarily require hospital admission and can look after themselves at home, which serve the purpose of reducing the pressure on healthcare staff.
Okay, I have a question for you. I have a question for you. We are normally told health is wealth. Others will argue without wealth, you cannot buy health. So with this lockdown, where many of us can't go to our jobs and definitely loss in revenue, just tell us in a nutshell, how do we balance health and wealth? We need the wealth because when we get the health and no money, then we're coming back to the hospital with malnourishment and all the rest. So what do you think the government can do to balance health and wealth?
I think the government have a very difficult task ahead of them, and that involves every government because they are going to have to deal with commercial and cultural considerations in dealing with this virus. But the scientific point of view is you need to shut down because you need to be alive to make the wealth. But then again, I understand the argument that you need to provide for the household, you have to provide income because the bills don't stop. The government are doing what they can, but the problem is if you do not get the balance, the virus doesn't care whether you are broke, doesn't care whether you're rich. It just wants a host in which to thrive in. Unfortunately, when it thrives in a host, it could cause a host a lot of damage. And that's a difficult balance that the government and we all have to face. Because you even see that where people actually have to go out to buy food with the mega income that comes in, or have to engage in activity. And human beings also have this need to interact with people. So I can easily understand why people find it difficult to talk to friends or talk to their neighbors, because we are geared towards interacting with people. The government are doing what they can, but they do have to take very hard decisions. From a scientific point of view, from a medical point of view, I wish we just shut down. But I do know that if you shut down completely, you still end up with a situation of having to survive during the shutdown period.
We come and look at the challenges of shutting down, especially with the elderly that the experts are trying to protect. But let's first of all have a look at the video you have made. Let's have a look.
My name is Antonio. I'm a consultant endocrinologist surgeon and neurologist. This is a video to help those who want to do a self-test for COVID, especially in the light of seeing a well-respected and renowned media celebrity performing the test incorrectly to his audience worldwide. The aim is to try and take an accurate sample so as to make sure that the results will be a true reflection of your COVID status. Now, first thing you need to do is wash your hands thoroughly with soap and water after blowing your nose. And you first want to take a swab in the mouth, aiming for the back of the mouth around the region of the tonsils. And I'll illustrate that here. Open my mouth widely. The eagle-eyed amongst you will realize that I've actually swabbed both sides. You can either aim for the tonsils or the base of the tongue, which is just adjacent to it. The back of the throat is also part of the oropharynx. To insert in the nose, you need to realize that the nose is about 7 centimeters long in an adult, so you really need to go far back. Best stay in the midline and work your way all the way back as far as you can. It's not generally a very pleasant procedure, but important things to take an accurate sample so that you have the right diagnosis made. And I'll illustrate. Try to avoid going towards the nose bridge. You want to aim along the floor, which is the roof of the mouth and the floor of the nose, and go backwards. Try not to go upwards towards the eyes. And then you do the same thing on the other side. Get all the way down on the floor. Do not go in the direction of the nose bridge or the eyes, otherwise you end up in the brain. I must admit, it's an eye-watering experience, but best do it properly in order to make sure that you have the right diagnosis. I hope you find this video helpful.
Thank you very much for that video.
Thank you.
If we may just ask you, many may want to ask more questions and say, yes, I've looked at that video, but I have more questions. How can they get in touch with you?
Sorry, can they?
How do they get in touch with you? Those who want to ask more questions.
Oh, you can email me because I put my email address at the back of the clip. My email is owaton@gmail.com or ent@tonewa.com. You can catch me at email, and the number's at the end of the video. And I'm quite happy to leave details with the TV station, with Ben TV, for people to contact me via email.
Yeah, if you want to get in touch with him, there are two ways. Either you rewind your television if you have such facility, or you can get in touch with Ben Television, and we will give you that information. In fact, we can send a whole video to you, or you send me your email address through nigeriansdecide@yahoo.com. We'll be asking you more questions, Dr. Owa. I will ask one question and I will ask my other colleagues to ask you more questions. What is this variant, the new variant, all about? The British variant, the South African variant, and we don't understand how this thing mutates, and all of a sudden we are coping with 70% infection of variants. Please tell us more.
Every living organism changes with time. It's just we change through our children and adapt to our environment. We have a longer cycle of doing that. Viruses have a much shorter cycle. They try to adapt to the circumstances that they find themselves, getting rid of things that they find disadvantageous and improving on things that make them live longer. And the new variant is along the same lines. They're trying to adapt to the environment they find themselves in. Human beings try to develop an antibody response to trying to get rid of the viruses, and the viruses want to thrive would start trying to change their characteristic so that they are able to thrive within the host that they occupy themselves, just like any other viruses. We have the same issue with the flu virus, and that's the reason why you have the flu vaccine. Every time there's a different strain of that virus, and the authorities try to guess which strain is prevalent at the time and produce a vaccine against that. And you'll find that with this new variant, even if it's not as effective as the companies want it to be, they can make adjustments to the vaccine to try and determine what part of the virus the vaccines can attack and try and make you develop an immune response to destroy the virus within the body before it causes any more damage. But it's all part of the natural process of surviving. Living organisms will try to thrive in the environment that they find themselves in.
Okay, will the Pfizer vaccine and the Moderna and all the vaccines, will they be able to cope with these new variants? Does it have any?
I mean, it all remains to be said. The companies feel confident that they can, that the vaccines will work, but we won't know until we actually have this tested out in the community. The pie, they say, is the proof, they say, is in the eating of the pudding. The vaccines need to be rolled out, and we need to see what response that people develop to the viruses. You'll probably find that even as we speak, people are adjusting to this new variant viruses. There are people that are either asymptomatic or have mild symptoms just by getting these new strain of virus. They don't all need to go to the hospital. The ones that are not coping as well are the ones that require supportive care in the hospitals. The issue with the new variant virus is that it infects more people more quickly, more readily, which is why it's spreading the way it is spreading. And that's one of the reasons why I produced this particular video, because there may well come a time when the amount of people testing for the virus might be overwhelmed, and it may well seem necessary for people to test themselves in order to quickly identify if they have the infection and initiate supportive measures. And this is just a guide to try and make sure that if they do take the option of testing themselves, they can do it quickly and safely and effectively.
Okay, about 40% of the population said they will not take the vaccine because of so many reasons, and not just because of underlying issues in their bodies, but because of so many conspiracy theories that they have listened to. It has, they want to change their DNA. It's going to be against their religion because there are dead fetus issues inside of it. They want to use it as 666 chip. What will you tell such people?
I mean, I can't comment on conspiracy theories because I'm not. I wouldn't say I believe in them. I can't say discount people's beliefs because people will have very firm held beliefs. But I think one has to say that the vaccines have been rolled out. There are also people that are willing to take the vaccine, and with time, if people start seeing that there are no ill effects from the vaccines, then they'll be more willing to try the vaccines out. Now, some of the vaccines may well contain embryonic material, some may not. It depends on what it is, but I believe that there are quite a few vaccines being produced differently. So you may well find a vaccine that's tailored to people's beliefs. So it all remains to see what happens initially with the first batch of people, which first the vulnerable groups, the healthcare staff, and those who are deemed to require the vaccines. And then around March, April, it's been that they have enough to roll out to the general population. By that time, we'll have much more information about the various vaccines, more of them will come on song, and then people will be able to make a judgment as to which is best for them. And it may well be that people already have an immune response to the virus and may not need the vaccine. It really depends on what the situation is down the line a few months from now.
Do you think we'll get to a point where the government will say no jab, no fly, no jab, no buy? Because we saw that Qantas airline, the Australian airline, they have said that no jab, no fly. And it didn't go well with them, but Ryanair came up with jab and go. And will it be jab and buy? You can't enter the stores. You think it will get to a time the government will say, that's it. If you don't take the jab, you ain't going nowhere. You can't buy, you can't sell because you are going to infect others. Are we getting there?
I think the government itself can't mandate that without part of law. It's mainly to see what the commercial companies do. But I suspect that if they do that, they may well find themselves facing legal challenges. Personally, from a scientific point of view, I don't think the vaccine itself makes sense because there are some people that will not respond with the vaccine. Let's say the companies claim 95% of people will respond. What happens to the 5% that don't respond, that don't have antibodies? What really makes sense from a scientific point of view is if you have antibodies. If you have antibodies, that's actually better than having a vaccine because it shows that your body is rejecting the virus. So if they want to do tests or want to do passports, then they should be really doing blood samples to see if people have antibodies and react to it. And the other question is, we do not know how long the immunity lasts for. Some people say 2 months, some people say 6 months. We don't know. Are these companies expecting people to take the jab every 3 months, every 6 months? I don't think that's a viable proposition. So I think it's all in the air. We need to see what's down the line. I don't think it makes much sense to adopt a very hardline view regarding vaccine passports because the vaccine itself is trying to induce antibodies. And the only way you can tell whether someone has a response is if you actually look at their antibodies rather than whether they have a history of taking a vaccination.
Okay, one more question. We are told that there should be 3 weeks apart from one jab to the other. But governments, we are told, want many people to receive the jabs as soon as possible. And for that to happen, they have to extend it to 6 weeks or even 3 months before the second jab goes. Will it be effective or do you think something has to be done?
Well, the companies are objecting it for various reasons because what they have tested for is the response after a few weeks. The government has a balance to make. They're looking at covering as many people within a short period of time. And that's the reason why they're trying to prolong it so they can use their available stocks to vaccinate as many people as possible. Just as with, if you're giving it over the recommended period by the pharmaceutical companies, we have to see the response that people generate with the vaccine. But remember that some people are actually developing a response without the vaccines, and may well be that people will be protected with a single exposure. No one really knows. A lot about this virus is new, and people are just basically trying to use their best guess decision as to how to proceed. The government, on one hand, has to consider the whole general population. The pharmaceutical companies, apart from the issue about the commercial viability, they want to make sure that the drugs are used in line with their guidelines, so that no one would accuse them of producing a vaccine that doesn't work. So it's
Okay.
a balance.
Please stay with us. I hope you can still stay with us 30 more minutes.
That's fine.
We are going on break, and when we return, my colleagues will be asking Dr. Antonio whatever question that is in their minds, and you will be given a chance to ask him questions. And then we have other people who will be joining us because we have a full lineup today. Don't go, please. We'll be back very soon.
Ben TV, your ethnic and Africa-led television, welcomes your input, contribution, and support to facilitate our continuous program production, campaign for projects, and other media-related services. We have been here for closer to 2 decades.
Welcome back. Thanks for watching Ben Television. The program is You Decide. Just in case you are just joining us, we've been discussing with Dr. Anthony Owa, the experts on EN and T. I was joking earlier, what is the meaning of EN and T? I'm sure he will be telling us himself. Let's ask questions before we go to the next item on our agenda. Nat, do you have any question for Dr. Anthony?
Yeah, my question is on this issue of uncertainty and the amount of knowledge the scientists, including the medical scientists, have on this coronavirus and this variant. Can we say confidently that they know what is going on?
Anthony, Dr. Anthony.
All right. First, I'll just issue about EN and T. My background is I'm an ear, nose, and throat surgeon, and my exposure is that we tend to be one of the first line people exposed to the virus because its main means of transmission has an aerosol, which basically means by air that is breathed out or spoken out, close contact, which we invariably do during the course of our examination. We're also engaged in trying to help clear the airway if there's breathing difficulties, especially if the anesthetists or our intensive care colleagues have difficulties in trying to secure the airway. So that's when they get an ear, nose, and throat surgeon involved to try and create a surgical airway. And that's my background. Now, it's a new virus. More knowledge about this virus is being picked up every day, and we're still working on the modalities. There's a lot that has been discovered over the last few months, and much more in terms of sequencing of the virus itself. Much more is known, which is why they've been able to produce the vaccine so quickly. Now, whether we haven't got the full information on what this virus does, how it mutates, how fast it mutates, but the knowledge is being gained on virtually an hourly or minute-by-minute basis from around the world, because the best brains in the world are putting their heads together to try and fight this pandemic.
Okay. Mazi Godson, have you any question for Dr. Anthony?
Well, the question I wanted to ask Dr. Uwa is, I know that he's a medical doctor and maybe with a little bit of scientific knowledge and some bit of conspiracy ideas or conspiracy. Everybody must have a conspiracy idea.
Okay, good.
The question is, does he believe that COVID-19 is a man-made scientific trial that went out of control? And as such, just like someone says, he said that the problem of man is mankind himself. Is it not man that has created this problem for mankind? And why are we still looking unto God to help us solve the problem?
Dr. Anthony, very important question. Please answer.
So there isn't any proof. You can only suspect, but there's no proof. Even the Chinese have made allegations, the Americans have made allegations. Some has been established, some hasn't been. No one really knows. I think it's still being investigated as to whether this was a man-made virus that's gone wrong, or it's just a transmission from lower animals that somehow has found its way into the human chain. The fact that there's a large biological facility in Wuhan feeds into that theory, but the proof it has not yet been established as to whether it's a man-made virus or not. What we do know is that this is a new virus. The human body is not used to it, which is the reason why humans have succumbed to it so quickly. And the jury, as they say, is still out as to whether there is a link between the Wuhan laboratories and this new virus.
Okay. Dr. Bashekola is in Moscow. We just want to see if he has any question all the way from Russia. Dr. Bashekola, any question from your end to Dr. Anthony?
Well, thank you, Dr. Anthony, for that information and insight into some of these things. You have actually answered some of the questions which I would have asked. But the one thing I wanted to ask is, looking beyond, Europe, in Africa, what do you think is the situation of things? Why is it that the initial information that millions will be dying in Africa, but we discovered that the situation is different, although we're still suffering from it. But why do you think the situation is, a little bit mild and envisaged?
I think, like around the world, the virus is underreported. My personal view is that in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, we are rather fortunate that we have a younger population, and they are better able to fight this virus. And that's the main difference. We have a much older, more vulnerable population in the more advanced countries, whereas in Africa, where we totally not have the necessary records of deaths and as such. But I think people survive more in Africa because it's a much more virile, younger population dealing with the virus. Now, I do know that some people, because of the symptoms, some of these patients may be assuming and be treated for conditions like malaria and typhoid because the symptoms may well be similar. And because they're young and because they will generally recover, no one picks this up as COVID. And to be honest, COVID testing is expensive. More expensive if someone has to do it, and probably not as readily available as in the Western countries. So we don't really know the full details. But what I do know is that the deaths are not as high as people thought it would be because we have a much younger population who are better able to fight the virus.
Oh, thank you. We have a friend and he's a guest who is joining all the way from Nigeria. I think it would be a good opportunity to welcome him and to ask him why Nigeria is plus what Dr. Anthony has said. Why is Nigeria so uh, oblivious of the dangers of COVID-19? We have Barrister Okenna Bedum with us. He's an attorney at law, Kabul Law Office. You are welcome, Mr. Okenna. I believe that you are in the studio right now with us, and we want to welcome you and then ask you a quick question. Maybe you'll be in a position to explain. Nigeria is free. I agree with Dr. Anthony to a very great extent that the population in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, they're mainly young. About 65 to 70% are under 40, we are told. And so for that reason, they may be escaping it, but it's still there. And maybe because it's expensive to test. And so is Barrister Okenna with us, or we should just go on? Well, I will introduce him much later, but I would like us to hear from someone who is residing in Nigeria. We saw how they mingle, and it doesn't appear that they are seriously challenged by COVID-19, which is a good thing if you look at it. But then, if it should ravage, how do we handle it? Let me go back to Moscow. Dr. Bashir, please tell us who you are and what you are in need of.
All right, thank you once again. My name is Dr. Bashir Obashikola. I'm the new chairman, continental chairman of NIDO Europe. Of course, NIDO is a known brand and a new name. It has been around for a while, since 2000, then 2002 in Europe. And we've been building on that organization, from one administration to the other. So it is my administration now.
Yeah.
Yes.
What does NIDO do exactly, so that our viewers who have never had a interaction with you will know whether they should contact you or how to contact you?
Okay. Well, NIDO is acronym of Nigerians in Diaspora Organization. It's a network of Nigerians all over the world, and of course we have European chapter, which is the one I'm the leader. And of course, the main mission of Nigerians in Diaspora, just like the way the name sounds, it is the organization, the umbrella organization, which is recognized by the federal government of Nigeria as the umbrella organization for Nigerians abroad, Nigerians living outside the country or Nigeria. And of course, the mission, we are also into promoting Nigeria, promoting investment into Nigeria, harnessing the human and financial resources of Nigerians in diaspora for the development of homeland Nigeria. That is the main mission of the organization. Of course, to contact us, we have www.nidoeurope.org. That's our website. And we also have chapters in several countries of Europe. Of course, in UK, for example, we have 2 chapters. We have what we call the NIDO UK South, which is all the towns around London. Then we have UK North, which is the Manchester and people all around, all the other towns around that major town in the north. Of course, in other European countries, we have one chapters each, and the main reason for spreading out to that level, which currently we have about 23 countries of Europe, where we have NIDO presence, and we are still promoting and establishing in other countries where they are not yet fully established. The mission remains the same, harnessing the human and financial resources of Nigerians towards homeland development, and we are in very good contact with Nigerian government. Of course, now we have NIDCOM, which is the first point of contact for all issues concerning diaspora in Nigeria.
I was just about to ask you, how tangential are you with NIDCOM? We know that the DG of NIDCOM is Mrs. Abike Dabiri. How tangential do you work with her?
Well, there have been, of course, it's a new agency. NIDO was in the forefront for fighting and struggling to get that commission established. It's a good thing because NIDO was established without a particular contact agency in Nigeria. So that means that NIDO preceded, a commission. We are, at the forefront, and with other sister organizations, made sure that NIDCOM was established. Since the establishment in 2018 or in 17, the act was signed, but the real physical establishment started in 2018. And of course, after a year, of course, there have been, maybe we can say two problems where we, trying to establish a proper working mechanism and a network between, NIDO, especially with NIDCOM, to make sure that the working collaboration is smooth and seamless. That is where we are. We are trying to resuscitate that, working mechanism so that NIDCOM and NIDO will be, very much in sync with each other. Because we want to see the system as established in the act of NIDCOM, where NIDO is actually like a outlet and a partner in doing the same thing, like harnessing and the financial and human resources of diaspora.
We'll talk about NIDCOM in a moment, but the Director General, Honorable Abike Dabiri, released a video and congratulating all Nigerians in diaspora and wishing them a prosperous 2021. We will want to hear your views about NIDCOM, how to support them, how to support the DG who is working hard, but then we want you to hear from you. But before we go on, let's listen to the Honorable Director General of NIDCOM in that video.
Hello everyone. On behalf of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, I want to wish every Nigerian in the diaspora a very happy new year. This year, 2020, had been quite a year with the pandemic and the deaths and all that, but we always give God the glory. We are glad that in the last year, we had a lot of success stories of Nigerians in the diaspora. We had a lot of Nigerians making the country proud globally, all over the world. We celebrate you and we continue to celebrate you. As we look forward to the year 2021, we look forward to more policies and programs that will impact you, our Nigerian in the diaspora. We also look forward to encouraging you to invest in your home country. There are opportunities, there are areas you can invest in, there are a lot of things you can do working with the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. So, Happy New Year, my brothers and sisters in the diaspora. We look forward to a fruitful 2021. We look forward to a more engaging time in the new year. And we look forward to doing everything possible to work with you, Nigerian in the diaspora, working with those at home to make this country the truly great country that it should be. Happy New Year, and we do appreciate every one of you. Compliments of the season.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for watching that. We know that NIDCOM swung into action, and Honorable Abike Dabiri has been working hard, and that has put her into a very serious highlight, which others have seen as competing with the Ministry of External Affairs, NAT. I want to ask you a question. Do you think her agency and the Ministry of External Affairs are usurping each other's positions, or what's your take?
Well, the Diaspora Commission is a parastatal under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Okay.
And yes, so I can't see her commission trying to usurp the powers of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs have their schedule of duties and responsibilities, and the diaspora item is just one of them. Again, I see it more of issue of personality clash between Abike Dabiri and the Minister of Foreign Affairs. She wants to be seen to be performing, and sometimes in her course of official duty, she is seen to be performing the functions of the Honorable Minister. And I don't think any minister in Nigeria would take it kindly, even when you have a Minister of State trying to perform the functions of the senior minister. And Abike Dabiri seems to have a very wide press, because that is her background, that's where she's coming from. She has a wide coverage, and sometimes she's seen to be crossing her boundaries.
Yeah, but Mazi, is the Minister of External Affairs needing to up his game so that he's not overshadowed, because Mrs. Abike Dabiri appears to be having the upper hand when it comes to results. Whenever they said Nigerians are oppressed in any part of the world, she will go there. She will do everything that those Nigerians be released. And everybody is seeing the result. For that reason, she shouldn't be crucified, should she, Mazi?
Well, thank you very much, Doc. I think the issue here is the ability of Nigerians, both at home and abroad, to understand the relationship between NIDCOM and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the terms of references for NIDCOM, and the diplomatic references of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There is no way two of them are doing the same similar contestational duties or responsibilities in regards to the way Nigeria deals with other countries. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is basically the face of Nigeria outside the shores of Nigeria, and its protocols are quite different from that of NIDCOM. Abike Dabiri cannot personally and directly deal with any foreign country in any foreign policy agenda or issues which conflicts with that of the duties of the Minister for Foreign Affairs or the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs. That is not the case at the moment. Abike is doing the jobs that are relative to how Nigerians in the diaspora are faring enough in the countries or in their host countries, and how they can be of good behavior in the foreign countries. And so if there's any issue that any particular Nigerian have or is undergoing in any country outside Nigeria, it helps the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to shed the loads they have, because at the moment the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has a lot of issues
responsibility
in many foreign embassies they have. And at a point, Nigeria had to shut down, I think, about 20 or 30 foreign embassies across the world because they couldn't afford the staffs, they couldn't afford the capacities. And so NIDCOM comes in good shape to be able to help the ministry or the minister to do certain things that the embassies could not afford to do. And moreover, politics plays into most of these things at a point where people try to be more political in terms of what they do or how they express what they do. But then Abike has a terms of reference on how she works around her responsibility and duties of the act that established the commission. And that is where we want the synergy to grow more. The conflict between her office and that of the minister is a political framework that people in the political arena are taking advantage of. Media.
Okay, let me ask somebody who is neutral here, Dr. Anthony Owa. He's a medical doctor. I know him very, very busy, and he oscillates between Lagos and London. Dr. Owa, will you say that the effect of NIDCOM had gone far enough to many parts of the world? And what would you like to see Abike Dabiri to be doing more?
Speaking as someone with no political aspirations, I think
Okay.
I think NIDCOM has filled the void which the foreign ministry have left for quite a while. Because whilst there's a lot that NIDCOM can do, they seem to be closer to diasporans on the ground than the foreign ministry itself. Most of the time when Nigerians have dealings with the foreign ministry, it's to do with either passport or if they're in trouble with the local authorities, and even then the help from what I have heard is less than ideal. And when we do need the foreign ministry to try and upscale the presence of or the effects in Nigeria, a lot of times we do not have them saying positive things about Nigeria or countering some of the negative things that are said about Nigeria. NIDCOM, on the other hand, are doing their best to interface with more diasporans who are willing to do things in Nigeria and also want their image locally to be upscaled. So whilst I think that NIDCOM have a lot more to do in terms of their reach to diasporans, I don't think trying to shut them down, as the foreign ministry may well have the might to do, is the right thing to do. They should just work together, and the foreign ministry should look at it as a cheaper way of getting the things that they probably ought to be doing, which is interfacing with Nigerians outside of Nigeria so that they will feel part of the country and want to contribute more to the country rather than engaging with internal political warfare.
Yes, thank you very much. In a moment, we'll go on a short break, but we need to discuss certain things affecting Nigeria, especially. But many of us will have heard this song before by Bob Marley. It says, "No woman, no cry." No offense to any gender. It was a Bob Marley song. I don't have a good voice. I would have loved to sing it. But you know the song I'm talking about, "No Woman, No Cry." I'm sure that Aliko Dangote will be singing that song right now, "No Woman, No Cry." We just want to peep into his financial world, and whether he's been be really, really business-like while visiting the United States. Don't go away, we'll be right back. Is You Decide.
Ben TV, your ethnic and Africa-led television, welcomes your input, contribution, and support to facilitate our continuous program production, campaign for projects, and other media-related services. We have been here for closer to 2 decades.
Welcome back to You Decide. I believe that you are seeing me. Otherwise, we will be removing the NIDCOM beautiful face of our DG, Mrs. Abike Dabiri, from the screen, so that you can have a view of our guests. I'm sure the studio is removing that NIDCOM beautiful face of the DG, so that you can see the faces of our guests. Are we having problem with that, studio? Are we settled in studio, or there are challenges, or we should just proceed and Mrs. Dabere will be watching all the procedure? Okay, as they say, let's continue. That is how the show continues, irrespective of challenges we might be having with that. The whole world was shown that Aliko Dangote, the well-known African billionaire and entrepreneur, and very good man, if you know him one-to-one, has been in romance with one or two American ladies. I don't know why everybody was interested and it went viral on social media. Nat, do you think it was worth it to be discussing personal issues of Aliko?
No. I think we shouldn't waste our precious time to discuss people's private affairs. Aliko Dangote is not a public officer in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He's a private businessman, and he's doing a lot for Nigeria and other African countries. Although somebody will talk of issue of morality, accountability, models, showing good example. But even that, I mean, Nigeria, even as a country, the level of discipline, sexual discipline is lacking or everywhere, and so it's like who is clean? Let him throw the first stone. We have this issue again. That the CEO of First Monument Bank in Nigeria, whom were told had affairs with one of his staff, and there's problem of the legitimacy of the children. That one will say, yeah, but that the issue again, the banking system, the banking sector is the private sector. That's my personal opinion.
Mazi, they say all men are human beings, and even if the very topmost rich, they're not out of the loop. What do you say?
Well, I want to join my dear Archbishop, Lord Bishop, not to have the same opinion that we shouldn't take personal issues of individuals who found themselves in the act of sexual relationship with another to the public domain all the time. Aliko Dangote is a very wealthy man, and from his cultural and religious background has the right to exchange women as many times as he wants until he decides not to do anymore. He can marry and divorce and marry another one and then exchange. Nothing stops him from doing that. And because he has the money, he can keep as many concubines as he wants. When Abiola was alive, we are made to understand that they had as much as 100 or so concubines all over the place with children that look like him running around everywhere with different names, and so many other big men doing it up to date. I don't think that anybody should go and start looking for people's personal issues and be dragging them. I mean, this is the challenges we have with the new age, the 21st century social media complexity, where whatever you do, whether you see, this is the problem I have here. If it's a poor man, nobody cares about what he does. There are some poor men, poor farmers who have 6, 7 wives. Even they concubine the whole women in the village. There are some poor village farmers. All they do is to run after widows in their villages and keep them in good tunes. And who cares about that? But when a big man does that little one, somebody picks on it, tries to make money. They try to make money, and then they fly it all over the place, looking for how to damage somebody's personal image in the name of trying to make money out of one another's misfortune. Or just like the FSMP guy, nobody knows the true story. Some people have concoct a lot of things on the social media, some unbelievable stories, and then at the end of the day, any story that the concerned persons are not able to stand before the camera like this and express themselves fairly and openly to clear the air. Every other stories about that on the media are all concord stories. They are all make-up facades, you know. So sometimes I do feel that we, in as much as we do not want press caging by anyone around the world, but then people should be able to manage the freedom of the press properly to the way that they can respect one another. This is the kind of freedom that is very difficult to test with the law, because people feel that they are free to say things, and then in the midst of trying to be free to say things, you say things that are not obviously factual and are not really good enough for the well-being of another man, because
okay, let me ask Dr. Bashir. Let me ask Dr. Bashir in Moscow. They said the lady, I don't know her name honestly, but she took a picture, a romantic facial picture of herself and Dangote. They said she was looking for publicity and she might become a celebrity just like that with that picture. What do you say?
Well, that's also true. That Dangote being a known person is a well-known, a very rich man, and of course somebody who claims to be so close. Of course, we want to flout that and show it everywhere and be proud of it. But the only thing is, of course, if it's being used negatively by being embarrassing for embarrassment purpose or for you know just to get certain that negative part of the relationship, of course, will be the bad the not the thing to encourage. Just like Mazi said, the issue of personal issues being drawn into the public domain sometimes is being abused by the current world we had, this social media thing, that anybody can just go and publish anything without thinking about the consequences for the family, immediate family of the persons involved and the children. That is very, not being something that we should encourage. And another thing is, of course, judging ourselves from, the background, the culture, our culture, and the religious background of the person in question, which allows him, of course, like, Azu said, allows him to take as many wives as he can afford to. If we have to go by that, then of course we shouldn't be too quick to judge him. It's another thing if he promises or he doesn't follow in terms of commitment to the relationship, then that will say, okay, why are you using the girl? But apart from that, I don't think it's good to bring people's privacy into public domain, especially if such a person have the right to such things. It's also a young girl, I mean, in terms of age. So we can also, it's pedophile. It's not, so it could be a consent of the two grown-ups, but that's
Okay,
it.
we'll bring it to a close. It looks like Aliko is on top of this show. Let me ask Dr. Owa. Owa, what's your take on this?
I think a private issue between consenting adults should not be our general concern. I think there are much more important things for people to worry about. The COVID pandemic is one. Getting one's daily bed two. The socioeconomic problems with Nigeria in particular are much more relevant than looking at the shenanigans of a wealthy person. King Solomon comes to mind, but like Marcy said, he who is well seen should throw the first stone. I really cannot see what the interest should be in interfering in people's private life. And we did hear about the issue with the FCMB, and I just think it's unfortunate for the man that passed away of a heart attack 4 years after the incident, but I cannot see why the gentleman is being persecuted by the friends of the deceased for an issue between two consenting adults. What happens to the wife? What happens to the child if this man loses his job on account of a vendetta? I really can't see the relevance of it. I think if it doesn't affect his day-to-day activities, and it wasn't that he forced himself upon the lady who was a willing partner, and the person is not a pedophile, or the person is not a child who's not got their full faculty, I really don't think people should be prying into private matters of that nature.
Unfortunately, the managing director of FCMB has been asked to go on a first leave, and many supported, many opposed, and we will not go into that. And then the cultural issue Mazi brought in, that the Nigerian man can still have more than one wife culturally, is also at play. We just thought rich people don't have time for things like loving, isn't it? Dr. Anthony, one more time. the rich people, they have time for such things. I mean, business, legitimate businessmen like Aliko. We thought it's all business.
Aliko comes across as a socialite too, and rich people are just like poor people. They work hard and they may well need time to play. Some people have other things to distract them, like some people play golf, some people play chess, and some people find solace in company, other people's company, usually of the opposite sex. That's not to affect their ability to perform. It may well be that their ability to let their hair down is what makes them more efficient at the business that they do, making them successful. And to be honest, just as was alluded to, the richer man probably has much more resources to play around with their spare time. The poor man will do it in his own way, but I really don't think, if it doesn't affect our day-to-day activity, if not a government official lording it over staff, or a doctor going after his patients, or someone going after a vulnerable person within the organization, I really don't think it's something that should be in the general interest of it. I don't think it's of public interest. Let's put it that way.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on just to correct the minds of the international people about the issues affecting Aliko Dangote, and so it's personal, and so it is. We'll leave it at that. We have the Nigerian budget that has just been passed, and it's supposed to be 13.5 trillion naira. Some have said that is a chicken change to help Nigeria out of the woods. Let's just get updated. Nat, can you please update us?
Well, the 2021 budget passed by the National Assembly and has been assented to by the President of Nigeria. But again, budgets are just intentions. Budgets are based on revenue, income, and then expenditure. But the problem we are now having in Nigeria is the revenue is not there. The money is not there. The budget have been predicated on borrowing. When will you pay? And how is the money going to be used? And the structuring of the budget is the lion's share is going to subheads like security, which we are not seeing anywhere in Nigeria, transport, our trains are not moving, they are stopping in the middle of the road, and then education and health, which are supposed to be top priority, are coming at the bottom. And if we need to rescue Nigeria, we need to go back to quality education that some of us enjoyed. We need basic health infrastructure in the rural areas specifically, so that people can be healthy. Good health is wealth, but when it is not there, we have serious challenges. And we have found out in the past, historically, our budgets are just figures, they are just rituals annually, because at the end of the day, you find out that budget performance is less than 50%. Sometimes it's even between 40 and 30%. Then the following year, another money is budgeted, and the budgets are always higher than the previous years. This is the challenge we are facing in Nigeria. Financial discipline is not there. The little we even have is not managed properly. And it looks like corruption has become an item in our budget, and nobody seems to care about what is happening.
Okay, thank you very much, Nat. We have in the studio someone who is highly respected in Nigeria, Mr. Tony Uranta, the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian National Summit Group. You are welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you for having me on.
Please, we really want to get to know you. Our viewers across the globe, especially in Europe, would like to meet with you. What do you do for Nigeria, sir?
Well, as you just said, I am the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian National Summit Group, the NNSG. We advocated and got the government to convene the 2014 National Conference. I am also the Secretary General of the United Niger Delta Energy Development Security Strategy. UNDEDS. That's the premier body that speaks for the Niger Delta. I have a few more things, but the major thing I am concerned about seeing how we can hold this country together, but premised on equity and justice. And so I am also Executive Secretary of what is called JEPUIN, the Justice and Equity for Peace and Unity Initiative of Nigeria. It is chaired by Senator Saminu Turaki. It is has Deputy Chairman being Mr. High Chief Raymond Dokwesi. I am the Secretary. And we have all kinds of governors, ex-governors, and other people there. I think I've been listening to what has been transpiring in the studio. I'm happy that we've got off the issues of individuals or personalities. I believe that each man should take care of his home. And when we come on board to talk about national issues, we talk about weighty issues. In that light, I subscribe to the positions of Dr. Owa and Mr. Sorry, I didn't get the name properly. I think it's Yako, who just spoke last, which is that the budget, first of all, that let's face serious issues. Secondly, that the budget, to me, is a phantom document. We are borrowing and borrowing heavily from China. China is noted for seizing national assets when they have to take their interests back. I don't think we're in a position to pay back these loans. In fact, not that I don't think, I know we are in no position to pay them back. For example, we're supposed to be budgeting 400 billion for vaccines. We have not talked about the logistics. How are they going to get those vaccines across the people? But they are fast in budgeting 400 billion. You see, we have a tendency in this country to put the cart before the horse. We have a tendency to mortgage our future against the present. It is immediate gratification. That's our basic rule of life. We cannot keep living this way if we want to move any further than where we are. In fact, we cannot keep living this way if we are not to begin retrogressing. The country is right now not at peace. There's no security. There's no economic stability. There is definitely moral turpitude. And all we are finding is we are getting people who are screaming out for more money without having been able to show us what had been done with monies before. And by the way, as representing the Niger Delta. The peoples of the Niger Delta find it incredulous and totally unacceptable that President Buhari would take through that long a speech for the New Year and not address Niger Delta. So it appears our issues are no longer on the front burner. But you see, they are the front burner, whether they like it or not. Right now, militants have already started threatening to bring us down to zero oil output. Should we dare them? I don't think so.
Yes, I have a question for you because we really want to hear from you more on the Nigerian issues because of who you are and what you represent. The Nigerian government, as from today, will be engaging 774,000 people, 1,000 from each local government of Nigeria. We're giving them 60,000 in 3 months. Some have opined that this will not help the infrastructural facilities. In fact, it will raise inflation in Nigeria without any productivity supporting it. What's your view on this?
I believe the same thing as what you just stated. The tokenism of it is okay, acceptable, but think of it, 774,000 out of 200 million people, of what, like you said, productive impact would that have in Nigeria? I think it would have been much better if that money had been used to create agricultural or cottage industries in these local government areas or in the states. But I am not about to fault what Keyamo fought for and what it's about to do. We need to do everything possible to get our people out of the rut. But yes, it is going to create inflation. And it's going to create inflation at a period when we lack the audit abilities. Let me say that our biggest problem in Nigeria is that we lack the monitoring and audit capability. We don't monitor projects, we don't monitor governments, we don't monitor government agencies, and we expect them to do the right thing. Nobody.
But excuse me, Mr. Oranta, what's the job of the overseeing Senate committee or the House of Reps committee? Is it not the job of having an overseeing them, oversight of it? And then what is the job of the opposition party? So maybe we should hold them accountable, the National Assembly and the opposition party.
Well, I'll take 2 examples. The first one is the security budget. Everybody talks about the security budget. In fact, Alhaji, the former NSA, was arrested and detained for months on end, in fact, years on end, based on allegations that he abused the use of the security budget. And yet, till date, there is no mechanism in place to either oversee subsequent security budgets or improve upon the systems within which they're used, which is to say, nothing has changed. In fact, corruption is more than before. The National Assembly has a right to oversee so many things. In fact, that's the basic job of the legislative arm. But as in the case of the NDDC, for example, as the Niger Delta Development Commission, we find
Yeah.
that members of the National Assembly are more concerned with reaping benefits for themselves as individuals and helping cook the books, which is why we are getting such a resistance from the National Assembly that is totally opposed to the ongoing forensic audit in the commission. Now, if this is going to be the case, you now ask yourselves, how faithful are the legislators, both national and all three, regional, local government, national? Are they really concerned about the citizen, or are they just concerned about issues that pertain to their welfare and to their corruptly enriching themselves? I think the latter. We do not have a system in place. This government should focus on building systems, building legislation. As it is right now, what we are doing is just nibbling around the edges of different ministries, departments, and agencies, whereas we should focus upon building a strong and viable system.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Orantas. We'll leave it there, but we're coming back to it when we return from a short break. There are still some issues to be discussed, and I will need everybody to participate. It's only that we have scheduled Mr. Orantas for a very thorough discussion, and I'm so glad he's here. And so we will still want to hear from you. Let our viewers please stay with us. We want to discuss these issues and probably more, especially what we're hearing from the United States. The state of Georgia is making history right now. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Ben TV, your ethnic and Africa-led television, welcomes your input, contribution, and support to facilitate our continuous program production, campaign for projects, and other media-related services. We have been here for closer to 2 decades.
Thanks for watching Ben Television. It's been good. It's been wonderful. We've had wonderful guests today, and we still have Mr. Tony Rantas with us. We still have Dr. Anthony Uwa and Dr. Bashir, all the way from Moscow. And the issues of Nigeria, some have said that they are the issues of Africa. Nigeria having 1 out of 4 Africans, 1 out of 4 Black must be a Nigerian. So the issue of Nigeria is very important, and we have able men to discuss it. We've been told that the budget is a phantom one, and that there are more issues to be discussed. Let me just quickly ask other colleagues before I come back to Dr. Urantes. Let me ask Mazi, what do you make of this budget 2023?
Not 2023, budget 2021, is it?
Oh, beg your pardon. Beg your pardon. I thought it was 2023 because you understand where I'm coming from.
No, you are running faster than Ferrari now. No, don't go too far.
No. Please go on.
Yeah, I believe, just like Dr. Uranta have said, and Bishop Nat have said, the budget is absolutely a joke. I don't really know if we actually making an annual national budget, or we're just doing a housewife shopping list for food items in the home, because it is quite ridiculous how, when you give a house in those days, when you give a housewife money to go to the shop, she goes and come back and don't tell you how much change she has, or if there's anything left over. So that is the situation Nigeria has been in the last couple of years. People do budget and they don't come back to tell you what is left, what was done, what they got to, what they didn't get, what they need to reshape or renew. They just come up everywhere, every time, every day, and just announce things to Nigerians. And because I am sorry to use the word, Nigerians of today are highly, very deeply gullible, irrespective of their education. I still see professors. I don't know if this is why people are doubting if many Nigerians calling themselves professors are actually professors, or they just gather the name somewhere, the title from somewhere, and put on their CV and be running around with it. You still see some professors still want to argue the tenacity of a budget that has 1,000 holes in it. And you want to wonder, are these people really, for goodness sake, Buhari said he gathered the best brains in economics and finance as his economic team. And yet we have such a budget? Are these people serious? Or is it that these brains, these so-called brains, including our own brother from the Niger Delta, I can't remember his name, the one that does his hair, Afro hair, something like that, I can't remember, Waifu or whatever?
Don't worry.
Financial consolidated
Don't worry
guy.
about the name, just go on.
So, if you have such people in an economic team, if you have the so-called professor of law, our vice president, in part of the economic team of the federal government, and yet we can have a strong, reliable, consistent economic policy, national economic policy that is in tandem with international practice. We are borrowing without the consideration of how we're going to pay, even in 1 year, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 30 years. Nobody knows. It's terrible. And that's why I said that there's need to question some of the people we call best brains in Nigeria, our professors, our expertise, and those who are being gathered by the
because of time.
Yes.
Let me quickly ask from our man from Moscow, Dr. Bashir. Dr. Bashir, you've listened to Nat, you've listened to Dr. Ranta. What's your position on the Nigerian budget so far? You have to unmute. You have to. Dr. Bashir, you have to unmute. It appears, am I the only one not hearing him? Okay, let me go to, let me go.
Sorry. I didn't know I muted myself. Okay, sorry.
All right,
Yeah.
go ahead then.
Okay. Well, I have listened to Dr. Uranta. It's of course, as every Nigerian, we are always very concerned about what the government does, especially when you've seen the obvious. It seems they are not seeing it. They are seeing something different. A budget of almost 14 trillion, or about 13.6 trillion, and with the estimate of a volume of oil production, which like he mentioned, might be in question because there are already agitation which might disrupt the production of oil, and also the price of oil, of course, is average, I think, $40 per barrel. They budgeted. Um, Everything, the volume of what we base our budget on is outside Nigerian, control. The oil price is outside the country's control. Of course, there have been this, agreement between oil producing OPEC and non-OPEC countries to make sure that they regulate the oil price. Of course, we know the pandemic in the world has also affected the demand for oil. So it might be at the end of the day unrealistic estimate, which everybody is also concerned. I think even during the parliamentary, discussion, they also made, the people mentioned that they might have to come back again for readjustment, as time goes on, if the economy of the world doesn't, support the demand which we've been expected of the oil, which is the major source of the income. Another thing is the expenditure. Of course, where we're talking about the expenditure part of the budget, we are not talking about how do we reduce the recurring expenditures, especially those ones that concern the cost of government. The cost of governance has all been the issue from one administration to another, but yet nothing is being done about it to make sure that it's being reduced, so that whatever we have, which we don't know. Mazi said it, that nobody comes back to tell us how much did they actually realize in the previous budget. How much of, because this is just an estimate. We might come at the end of the day with score that we don't have 13 trillion. Maybe it might be about 6 or 7 trillion at the end of the day. So that might be the situation of things, and of course that affects the general economic improvement of the country. So
let me ask the medical expert.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm just mindful of the time. Please pardon me. Let me ask the medical expert amongst us, Dr. Owa. Health has never been particularly up in the budget of Nigeria. Health and education, they suffer a lot. What do you say?
I think it's a crucial mistake because we are reaping the fruits of years of underdevelopment of both the health and education sectors. The only way Nigeria is going to be able to compete with countries like Singapore and other far more advanced countries is having an educated workforce. From what I experienced, having partly gone through the Nigerian school system before coming off to the United Kingdom, having gone to school in Weber College and University of Benin, the standard of education since that time seems to have gone down into the pits. Once upon a time, Nigeria used to be the place where people from other African countries and indeed European countries used to come for their education. Now it's the reverse. And seeing a situation whereby the total budget for teaching hospitals and the hospitals do not match that of at best a highly placed health center in Abuja doesn't inspire one with confidence. We haven't developed a primary healthcare system that will be able to deal with even the vaccination. You're bringing in vaccines, you haven't got the staff to actually administer the vaccines, you haven't got the storage facilities for the vaccines, and yet a lot of money has been budgeted for it, which we all know is never going to be used for the purpose which it's been designed for. The issue I have with all the budgets I've been going over the year is that it doesn't have any impact on the common man. We don't seem to be manufacturing the things that we should be manufacturing so we can export to gain more money. There's an over-reliance of oil. Every year we have this issue about the cost of governance going on and on, and nothing's been done about it. We have agitation for regionalization so that various regions can be competing against each other in order to generate revenue. It always dies a death anytime immediately after the election. There's so many issues that are left untouched. But health and education, for one, seems to be the Cinderella for this country, and it's a great mistake because when you have an underskilled workforce, you will generally not be able to compete with even countries like Ghana to produce items for export, and you certainly will not invite inward investment if you do not have a trained or a skilled up workforce in order to do with it. India's success is generated from having an educated workforce that was cheaper for all these developed Western economies to send the advanced equipment to develop. We are not going to be in that position. We have a youthful workforce, but we haven't got them educated. So we're not going to prepare ourselves for the future or our generations to come for the future. And it's a great
Okay, let me come back to Mr. Uranta, our DG. Please, may I ask, what's your take on the Nigerian security? Because it's the one that has taken most of the budget, and it appears that we are not getting better. The more we spend money, the more we are not getting better. What's your take on this?
Well, first of all, I believe that there are quite a few people, especially in the military-industrial complex, who have become rich and are getting richer by the day with the increasing insecurity in the land. Secondly, let us realize that a lot of military personnel and material are being diverted to areas like the Niger Delta, which can remain safe, peaceful, if the government does certain basic things. Then let them concentrate on Boko Haram and begin to work against what they call banditry. There is definitely a land grab going on. There is definitely an attempt to create an Islamic State by ISWA, the Islamic State, ISIS in West Africa, by Boko Haram, and by what are now called the bandits. However, please permit me to go back to what Dr. Owa was on about, health. Right now, we could lose, for example, theoretically, we could lose millions of Nigerians if the second wave of the COVID-19 is not properly approached. And as I said earlier, and Dr. Owa said with more precision, there are no logistics in place. The primary health infrastructure that Dr. Olikoye, Professor Olikoye Ransom Kuti, advocated in the 80s has totally been neglected, and so we don't have the systems by which vaccines, if they are even acceptable, can get to the people. In like manner, we keep putting the cart before the horse. We want, the president was in the United States meeting with President Trump some time ago. And I remember Trump saying with glee that Nigeria had committed X amount for the purchase of aircrafts and helicopters, but that they would not be delivered until 2021, this year. In fact, I have it on good notice that they are not going to be available for delivery this year. Why do we keep dumping money into areas that don't matter? There are existential issues facing us. Nigeria may not survive till 2023. I hate to hear people talking gleefully about 2023. Will there be Nigeria?
I was just mentioning my 2023 was so apt in the sense that I should have said 2021, but it was so apt because we just finished an election last year, or shall I say year before, and everybody is fighting for 2023. We have not yet enjoyed the benefits of the administration of another 4 years of Buhari, but the whole political clan, they're rushing for 2023. Please. So this is very important, as you have said.
Yes. We find, but this is not, it didn't start today. Nigeria since 1999, when President Obasanjo was sworn in on a non-existent constitution, by the way. The 1999 constitution, as amended, did not come into effect until after Obasanjo was sworn in. Please note that, because a lot of rancor is going on about the legitimacy of the Nigerian government or system at all. People are talking about the end of the 100 years after 1914. We have issues concerning our safety in the Middle Belt, in the South, and now in the North. Everybody is at risk of being eliminated. And politicians are sitting down, working out ways to keep fooling the Nigerian people, to keep stealing from the Nigerian people, and to not in any way assist this government or any other government to better serve the Nigerian people. I believe that we have to do more, which is why we created JAPUIN, the Justice and Equity for Peace and Unity Initiative in Nigeria, because we are heading downhill at breakneck speed. It is going to be foolhardy for us to assume that since we are heading downhill, something is going to change and bring us back to the top. If we don't get
I want to ask you, because you are one of our special guests today, I just want to ask you one question. What is your position on restructuring? Is that our main problem, or we have some other problems?
Everything about Nigeria is wrong. It started with the fact that we are operating virtually a non-legitimate system of government. As I said, Obasanjo did not have the 99 constitution when he was sworn in. Therefore, like the lawyers will argue, everything that was built on 1999 has been a nullity. But to be more exact, we need to restructure this country, because people, for example, are clamoring for a bypassing of the states and engagement directly from the center of the local governments. And I ask, who says that the structure of local governments is equitable right now in Nigeria? Kano has 44 local governments. Bayelsa has 8. So Bayelsa brings all the oil to the table, and Kano takes a majority of it. This is not proper. It's not equitable. We cannot continue living in denial. We have things, and the southeastern states are not being carried along. They seem
but Mr. Ranta, who exactly is stopping the restructuring happening? Can we locate it and address it? Or because we've been saying restructuring, but it appears we can't locate who is stopping it.
No, the first opposition is from the National Assembly, because the National Assembly is so structured that certain people who are benefiting from the present structure, they hold the majority in the National Assembly. So they can decide that they do not want to discuss restructuring, or they don't want to go into the details. In fact, what Japan is right now focusing upon is that, first of all, an amendment must be made to the Constitution demanding that any future amendments or totally new constitutions must be ratified through a referendum. I hear so many, I've spoken with Kanu, Gani Adams, and others. They seem not to realize that we do not have the Nigerian Constitution of 1999 as amended has,
I'm sure this story,
no clause.
Yeah. Mr. Ranta, I'm sure we must continue this story maybe in the next week, maybe next week, maybe week after, because it's something that we must definitely continue. But there is, I'm hearing something from the United States. Nat, do you want to bring us up to date what is happening in the state of Georgia?
No, I don't have the update.
Well, the update right now is that the state of Georgia has decided to vote the Republican senators out of the Senate and replace them with Democrat senators. What implication will that be? Quickly, in 20 seconds. We just have to round up now. We are almost leaving. We can't hear you. We cannot hear you.
Yeah, sorry, Doc. I think this is the new dynamics that politics is playing out now in the United States. I mean, just as United States and Nigeria, we kind of practice almost the same kind of politics or democracy with that of United States, but then we can see the downturn of that form of politics and democracy in the United States. I think the Democrats are playing a very, very dynamic political strategy.
Let me ask you Dr. Bashir, in 20 seconds, what do you think will change in the rest of the world?
Well, I think the Democrats are now having the full control of the apparatus of governance. That means that they will be able to push forward all the changes they want to implement, and also reverse some of the adverse things that Trump has put in place, and that way I hopefully will be good for the world, especially when he talks about the climate change, the Obamacare, and all those stuff. So I think those are things that I think
medical doctors, because doctors must be working precision. Dr. Uwa, you've had the results so far. How do we go from here? Just in 10 seconds, how do you react to the news?
Trump out, Santi in.
And Dr. Uranta, all the way from Nigeria, you have 10 seconds. What would you like to say in 10 seconds as we round up?
Oh, well, I say congratulations to whoever won there. I'm not too sure that it's going to change anything concerning us. The Democrats have not been too friendly with us, nor have the Republicans. All we know is that American interests will be served.
It's on that note that I have to attack you, Dr. Ranta. We'll be inviting you very soon because you still have so many things to tell the world. I also want to thank Dr. Anthony Uwa, who has given us so many things, including a video. I have to thank the chairman of NIDO, Dr. Bashikola, all the way from Moscow, and of course my colleagues here, Mazi Godsin and Nat Iyakwo. Next Wednesday, we'll be back with the latest on the scene. This is You Decide, and thank you for watching Ben Television. Please do not touch your dial. My name is Shegun Johnson. God bless Nigeria.